Okay, we're set. Excellencies, distinguished guests, colleagues, and friends of the DOC, I have the honor and the pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the DOC Research Institute here in Berlin to our workshop, An Emerging New World Order, Building Blocks, Drivers, and Perspectives. Leading experts from Russia and the United States and the European Union should be a little bit enlightened, enlighten us, definitely here, and I hope for a very vivid discussion later on the issues which are at stake at the moment. Because what we do see is not very pleasant. And I looked into two major documents which I think are very important and relatively not so well known among the expert world of European political science and international relations. And I'm referring to the National Intelligence Council of the United States. The National Council of the United States is undertaking major assessments of the forces and choices shaping the world over the next decades. In the last 8 years, basically since 1996. And the last two reports I'm referring to here are the one of 2012, A Changed World in 2030, Alternative Worlds, and the new one of January 2017, Global Trends, Paradox of Progress. The new report picks up assessments and findings of the previous one, develops them further, and most probably covers the same time period. It's not stated there. Allow me to revive your knowledge on the main assumptions of the Changed World Report of 2012, and then rapidly go into the findings or the statements of the new report. The Changed World Report of 2012 describes the role and position of the United States in a constantly and rapidly changing international environment. The report states that the US is and will remain the dominant military world power for decades ahead, but will be unable to stem against the economic and financial decline. The global hegemony of the United States will fade, and in time may appear where the US must be ready to share global dominance. The need for burden sharing and the search for alliances and partners to fulfill global missions and to safeguard the liberal institutional hegemonic project are the most difficult tasks to achieve in the near future, NIC report. Such outlook is shared widely in US expert circles. Let me just refer to the late Zig Brzezinski. Given the still prevailing but weakened hegemon, Brzezinski persistently demanded a wise foreign policy which needs to realize that globalization means, in essence, interdependence and consensual leadership. Frankly, he insisted that the US must transform her global dominance into a co-optive hegemony, or global community of shared interests. In his opinion, a building block of such community is already in place, namely the interwoven institutional and value-based binding interdependence between the United States and the European Union. Creating and securing such an alliance would stop the progress of nascent oppositional forces, these threshold countries related in and out or in the vicinity of the BRICS, which are challenging successfully or in future time the position of the United States and the bloc with the European Union. Given such judgment, the hegemonic position of the US-EU bloc vigorously attempts to push Russia to sidelines of European politics can be interpreted as steps to achieve such objectives. Eastern and Western experts agree that neither the bipolar world order of the Cold War nor the United States' subsequent unipolar hegemony succeeded in creating a peaceful world. On the contrary, the present state of world affairs is seen as being increasingly unpredictable, dangerous, complex, and packed with contradictions that are difficult to resolve. While nowadays interstate wars are more or less the exception, however, ethnic, religious, separatist clashes among warlords oppositional movements and corrupt administrations dominate the scene. Conventional warfare has given way to hybrid warfare and other informal or in anonymous forms of military strife. The ongoing process of globalization has led to complex, multi-layered conflicts that combine regional causes with external actors, making it difficult to demarcate between internal and external conflicts. As a result, international institutions are often neither willing nor able to intervene. This is seen very clearly in Syria and even in the Ukraine. The former German Minister of Foreign Affairs, Steinmeier, has piercingly described the present situation as "Die Welt ist aus den Fugen." The world is in disarray. Andrei Kortunov from RIAC in Moscow agrees with Steinmeier's point of view and argues that in the second decade of the 21st century, the world has entered a period of chronic instability, regional and global turmoil, and a dramatic decline in the governability of the international system. Thus, a backlash, he concludes, to postmodernist theories and policies took place. There's little dissent among experts that the bipolar system was replaced by the temporary unipolar world, which gradually losing its compulsory power. The unipolar order is withering away, accentuates Sergei Karaganov, creating a government vacuum and a power gap. And with this kind of power gap is filled by external actors, Russia definitely, and China. So the international system, as we know it, is in a transformational mode. So far, we can distinguish three transformational stages, which you all know, and which are influenced by the interplay of Washington, Moscow, and Beijing as well, but less significantly by the European Union. Let me come back to what the new report of NRC is trying to tell us. There are, of course, distinguishing between megatrends and game changers. The new report, Paradox of Progress, resolves around the core question how the alteration of power changes are creating increasingly tensions in and among countries, affecting the stability of the present international order. Many trends were already mentioned and pointed to in the 2012 report, but they remain unresolved. And even worse, some game changers from 2012 to the present time have been transformed into megatrends. Let me point out a couple of them. The report states, the next 5 years will see rising tensions within and between countries. Global economic growth will slow. And despite globalization and technological advancements, which lifted millions of people out from poverty, these trends hollowed out Western middle classes. Migrant flows will become even greater, draining welfare systems in the Western world, and will reinforce anti-elite impulses in all the Western OECD countries. A widening range of states, organizations, and NGOs will shape geopolitics in the future. And the global landscape is drawing to a close an area of American dominance. This decline will be accompanied by the weakening of the rule-based international order. The shared understanding of world events will be undermined by veto players, and collaboration will be blocked. As a result, international cooperation will become more difficult. To impose order under these conditions of chaos or of uncertainty may be tempting, but would be too costly and fail in the long run, because the conditions of slow growth and debt burdens and new actors in the international scene, which are using veto power or stop processes of cooperation, will grow. So if you look at these kind of predictions, which are very recent from the NRC, and the NRC did not only rely on American institution, but it was a wide a search for facts and for assessments in the Western world. I don't know how much they touched about Russia or China or other countries of the third world, but anyhow, it's a very bleak concept. And our task for today is basically to look at the drivers of change and to examine what kind of building blocks are still intact or can be amended or modified to create a new order. And if this new order is going multipolar or polycentric, we don't know, but what does it mean? Does it enhance our security? Does it enhance our welfare? Does it enhance peace in areas? This is an open question which the NRC report does not answer as well. But of course, in the end, they're coming to the typical American conclusion. The depressing assumptions are not cast in stone, therefore brighter developments may occur. So I have the question and I have the pleasure to introduce the first speakers in the first session.